Alright, welcome to my SMB. A small disclaimer this week before we begin, and that is that Tuesday night at the end of the day we have our monthly close. So something I can give to you, a small piece of advice is something that I've been doing, is to take some extra time on your daily market breakdown to see how the monthly candles close. The reason being to see if certain setups where the bias was playing against us on the monthly became valid or invalid again because of the close of the monthly. So starting off with the DXY, we were ranging this month between this and this zone, and what can we see is that the bears tried to come down, couldn't break the zone, and how it looks right now is that we're gonna close quite bullish. So how it looks right now is that we're still ranging between these two zones, and let's proceed to the weekly to see what it tells us. So if we go to the weekly, what can we see is a beautiful inverse head and shoulder. I expect the US dollar to come down to the shoulder one region, and from there on I'll be looking to long setups. Right now, until then, my bias is still quite short because we have this bigger bearish W. The shoulder one here has been tested, and if we continue to the daily, we see a nice impulse combined with a daily retrace. This is perfect for the bears to make some relief up until shoulder one, and then the bulls can kick in. So taking that into account, my first setup that I'm looking at the moment is a US dollar Swiss. So let's start off with the monthly. As you can see, we're at all-time lows, and how it looks right now is that we're gonna close nice and bullish above the zone. So that indicates a bullish power for me on the monthly. So if we continue on the weekly, apart from the weekly and monthly lows, we can also see a bullish M right here. 1, 2, impulsively 3, correctively 4, ending last week with a nice bullish candle. So if we continue to the daily right here, what can we see? A pattern in a pattern with two zones. We have zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 aligns very nicely with the bullish M right here for the pattern in the pattern, and it contains an IC. What are my rules and what am I looking at on the 4 hour? I want to see the price come back correctively, and from there on this IC, I'll be looking at a bullish M or an inverse head and shoulder. I will not be looking at a decel because we have two zones, and for that reason I'll be only looking at decels on the lower zone of shoulder 1. So next setup is GBP cut. For this one I will start with the daily, since I'm looking at a daily retrace setup where the weekly and the monthly mostly support my bias. So let's go to the daily. What we can see right here is that we have a shoulder 1, D head, shoulder 2, a bigger pattern that I'm not particularly looking at, but it can play in the advantage. From this inverse head and shoulder, what can we see? We're making a bullish M. 1, 2, 3, where the minus 27 aligns very nicely with the highs. So what do I want to see on the daily? I want to see a nice engulfing candle forming a flat wall, where right from this zone I'll be looking at decels or head and shoulders on the 4 hour. Let's see what the weekly and the monthly say. So at the weekly we can see that it aligns nicely with the highs right here, and on the monthly it also aligns very nicely with the highs. So these are my setups for the week. I have a couple of other setups that still need quite some development, but for Monday and Tuesday this will be it. Good luck this week.